In 1977, a small factory in Colvin, Leicester got to work on something that would change the lives of countless people. Little did they realise that people were still caring enough 40 years later to sit and listen to a guy waffle on about that product. This is the Star Wars Toy Podcast. Hello there, and welcome back to the Star Wars Toy Podcast. This is episode 3. We're not going to be keeping count. But you'll notice the change in name. We've dropped the Blue Harvest because of the Blue Harvest podcast from America. They got in touch and thought that it would confuse people. So we've dropped the Blue Harvest in the podcast. It's still going to be Blue Harvest, YouTube, everything else, because that is my business name. I've used it since 2015, but I've just agreed to drop it from the podcast as it would confuse people. There was the Blue Harvest, the Star Wars podcast, and this was the Blue Harvest Star Wars Toy Podcast. So yeah, I can understand where they're coming from with that. Everything else is still the same, as I say, the Patreon, the YouTube, everything that links me to this podcast will be still Blue Harvest, but this will be the Star Wars Toy Podcast. So with that out of the way, let's have this.
The Star Wars Tracker Report.
Welcome to the Market Report for this week. I'm going to start off with the loose figures, where there were 290 items sold, with a total value of £13,575. At number 5 we have a Boba Fett, which was an AFA 80. It was a Lily Lady, sold in the United States for $455. At number 4 is Yak Face, Kenner, sold in the United States for $477. Again, at number 3 is another Yak Face, but there's an AFA 85 this time, Kenner, sold in the United States for $530. At number 2 we have a DT Saber Luke Fanboy, AFA 75, Kenner, sold in the United States for $800. I think I'd rather have the DT Saber Luke than the Yak Face, to be honest with you, but it's all everybody's taste. And at number 1, we've got a Vinyl Cape Jawa, AFA 75, sold in the United States for $1,175. On to the top 5 accessories now. There was 246 items recorded, and so with a total of £18,623. Number 5 was a Palatoid Death Star. Yes, I bid on this myself. It was a Palatoy Death Star. It went for £455 and sold in the United Kingdom, and that was on eBay. Because I bid on it myself. I didn't want to go above $450, to be honest with you. So I'll be patient. I will get one. At number 4, we have a 12-inch R2D2. It's a Lily Lady loose. That is very rare. It sold in the United States for $699. At number 3, 12-inch Han Solo AFA 75. A Kenner Star Wars A picture box. Sold in the United States for £718. At number 2, another 12-inch Han Solo, a Lily Lady version this time. Sold again in the United States for $815. And the number 1 accessory this week is the Imperial Shuttle. Kenner, Return of the Jedi A, Emperor Arrival Scene, was sold in the United States for $1,179. And the final section this week is the Minton card figures. There was 100 items sold, with a value of £17,582. So at number 5 we have Luke Skywalker Fanboy, yellow hair, Kenner, Star Wars 12C, sold in France for €800. At number 4 we have a Luke Skywalker Imperial Stormtrooper outfit, AFA 85Y, Kenner Power of the Force 92A, obviously, £811, sold in the United Kingdom. At number 3 we have a Darth Vader AFA 80, Kenner Star Wars 12B, sold in the United States for £1,275. At number 2 we have Han Solo Small Head AFA 75, Kenner Star Wars 12A, sold in Spain for £1,070. So number 1 we have a Han Solo Small Head AFA 85, Kenner Star Wars 12C, sold in the United States for £2,701. And it's quite funny because I'm looking at a lot of these things, so I know what's going to come up. To be honest with you, I look at them to get the idea of the prices. To be honest with you, I am looking for certain card backs and figures. I would like a Darth Vader 12 back and an R2D2 pop-up lightsaber, as well as maybe a Best Spin Luke and a Han Solo Carbonite. I'd want to get them as cheap as I can, to be honest with you. I don't want them to be too battered, but I'm not really bothered if they're mint or not. It's about being patient, and I will be very patient. It's like the Palitoy Death Star. I know how much I want to pay, and I don't want to go above that unless it's really mint in a box, maybe sealed. That would be nice. So that was the Star Wars tracker. You can find that on iOS and Android, as well as your desktop. It's $30 a year, and it's totally invaluable for what you need if you're collecting Star Wars. It gives you the price of each figure, accessory, coin, whatever you want, vintage. It'll tell you the price of, or the average of, or whatever, the top value sold and the lowest value sold. But you can also put your own collection in there and get a valuation straight away. You can also put your own pictures of your figures in there. And we do have a code for $5 off for the year, which is TSW-25.
A long, long time ago, in a galaxy far away, Naboo was under an attack. And I thought me and Qui-Gon Jinn could...
So for the main topic this week, I decided to start all over again and go through the story of how Star Wars figures were made, how the toys were made. Now, you've all probably heard this story before, but as I said in the first episode, I want to get new collectors in on this wonderful hobby we have. And at the risk of upsetting established collectors and people who've listened to my podcast before and other people's podcasts, because everybody talks about this, it's a new podcast. I'm going to start all over again and go through all the collecting aspects in our hobby. And it's not just because I lost the point of when I got to on the toy box. A lot of you won't listen to that podcast, and we're just going to start with a clean slate. So here is the Star Wars toy story. Back in 1976, a young George Lucas could be found shopping around the rights to make toys for his ambitious new space opera, Star Wars. Lucas was understandably eager to tie up a deal. He'd offset a low fee for writing and directing the film, just £96,000. Oh dear. By negotiating ownership of the merchandising rights. Most observers at the time wouldn't have thought this was a good deal for a production company. For one thing, merchandising wasn't the massive business that it's become since. For another, expectations of Star Wars were pretty low, and underwhelming feedback from early screenings didn't do anything to change the perception. Perhaps mindful of the early buzz, or rather lack of it, one of the biggest toy companies of the time, Mego Corporation, passed up on the chance to produce a Star Wars toy range. They were producing large-scale 6-inch action figures from DC, Marvel, and they also had the Star Trek license. So instead the rights went to Kenner. Kenner were a part of the General Mills Group, and a small company in Cincinnati who had a few hits on their hands, such as $6 Million Man, Mr. Potato Head, and the Easy Bake Oven. Having said that though, Kenner can't be praised for this great amount of foresight. They were so unconvinced that the film would be a success, they was wholly unprepared for the enormous toy demand in the Christmas period following the film's May 1977 release. As a result, Kenner took the infamous decision to sell a dubious early bird certificate package, essentially an empty box containing an IOU. Delivery of these figures would occur in not so early 1978. The 4 initial figures under the offer were Luke Skywalker, double telescoping, R2-D2 with a slightly darker blue dome and sticker, Princess Leia, and Chewbacca with a slightly translucent green bowcaster. 8 more joined the figures when ready: Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, Han Solo, C-3PO, Stormtrooper, Death Squad Commander, Jawa and Sand People. I'm not going to go into the variations here today. I will be doing it in a future podcast, so stay tuned for that. Kenner went with 3 3/4 inch figures, which were much smaller than usual 11.5 inch, 12 inch figures. They were much cheaper to produce, important factor during a time of oil crisis, but they were also smaller, so they kept fitting to the vehicles and the playsets that would arrive later in the year. Although the deal that George Lucas made with Kenner was very small, the cut it actually did finance the next 2 movies. So really, if you did buy some Star Wars figures back then, you financed Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Where's my co-producer's credit? Now I'm going to be talking about the figures individually over the next few weeks. Another interesting thing I'm going to be talking about is the licensees from around the world. The many different countries had different licensees of the Kenner products, and I will talk about every aspect of the vintage Star Wars toys.
Met up with Darth Maul and now he's toast. Well, I'm still here and he's a ghost.
On to my next topic now, and it's an article I picked up from my Google alerts. I get them every morning about the Star Wars toys, and it's usually, you've seen them before, the toys you might have that might be worth something, and the top 5 or top 10 most expensive toys. Well, this one is the most expensive toys you might have in your attic, and there's a picture of a Hot Wheels car. I didn't think Hot Wheels were actually that expensive, but apparently they are. The Holy Grail of Hot Wheels is a rare hot pink rear-loading VW camper van. Who knew? But it goes on to mention Barbies and collector cards, amongst other things. But what we are interested in is Star Wars toys, obviously. It does say these are mentionally collectible toys which have such a broad appeal across all ages, but it'll be the prototype Boba Fett from 1979 that'll fetch the big money. You don't say. And it goes on to say one went for £13,000 recently. Yeah, what about the one currently on Hake's auction that is going to fetch 6 figures? This toy was taken out of circulation as it had a red rocket that manufacturers deemed a hazard, so very few made it to shelves. Yeah, none of them made it to shelves, unfortunately. But even the rocket alone sold for almost £2,000. Yeah, very lazy journalism there. The manufacturers didn't deem it as a hazard, it was health and safety. And they didn't make it because they couldn't get it to be affordable. So the fact that it's actually called the prototype Boba Fett means it never got into circulation. Part of the same sale was a box of 24 Death Star Commanders, still in their delivery case, fresh from the factory in 1977. I doubt very much it would have been 1977, probably 78, as the figures weren't released till then. They set the bidder back £11,400. I bet the box is worth that much. Then it goes talking about Lego. The Danish toy company may have over 85 bricks for every person on the planet, but it certainly doesn't reduce the rarity of some sets. Therefore, entered licensed products was really the making of the now biggest toy company in the world. Their Ultimate Collector's Millennium Falcon is the largest Star Wars set ever made, not anymore, and the secondary largest set after the Taj Mahal. Everything I've just said is wrong. The Millennium Falcon that is currently on sale is the biggest Lego set ever. It goes on to say, in the box you'll find Lego versions of Obi-Wan Kenobi, Chewbacca, Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo. The number of pieces is 5,174 and the price is currently valued at £2,000. Well, the one that is on sale now is at £650 in Lego stores, but I think you can buy it at Smith's for about £500. I think that supersedes the older version. I could be wrong, you might want the older version. I'd rather pay £500 than £2,000 for an updated version. The article then goes on to tell you what you should be collecting now to make some money later on. If you have the cash to splash on any we've already mentioned, then do. Prices are only heading one way for current collectibles. However, if you want to invest in something now, which might bring worth in the fortune in the future, here are some toys we might think will bring you a return over the coming years. Funko Pop bobbleheads, any limited edition run. Fortnite toys. Limited edition Lego sets, I agree with you there. Original Minecraft toys. Playmobil Ghostbusters 5cm figures. Limited edition board games. Hasbro Vintage Edition Jabba Sail Barge. And limited edition American Girl dolls. We've also put together some toy tips for what to look out for when buying and selling collectible toys. Get in early on some of the crowdfunding sites and snap up first edition games with the rewards for early birds to their money raising campaign. They'll not make these special pieces again. Yeah, there's probably a reason for that. Star Wars isn't the only blockbuster which has created a high interest for collectors in the toy market. Harry Potter and Jurassic Park have decent toy lines, and Transformers or Power Rangers have collectors across the globe. It's the rarest toys which reach the highest prices, really. Nothing says rare like a mistake, from the wrong colour outfit to the printer on the package. Limited runs, when manufacturers only create a small number of toys or collectibles, then can be expensive, but you could end up doubling or even tripling your money. Seek out some of the rarer colours for toy cars. Some only had limited colour runs and as a result worth more. So some of that information was pretty obvious. I'm not so sure about the Kickstarter, but I could be wrong. It's been known. So what I'm going to do now is going to give you the top 5 what I think you should be collecting if you want to make a profit down the line. It's not all about profit, this collecting lark, but it's about enjoyment. But for now, we're just going to talk about profit. At number 5, we have Lego. It was mentioned there, and I do believe if you get the collector sets, keep them sealed, and in 5-10 years' time, they will be worth a fortune. Look at the Millennium Falcon they mentioned there. It went to about 2,000. I've seen it at 3,000 before the new Millennium Falcon came out. If you got one of those and kept it in the box, good luck to you, because that will probably double, triple in the next 5-10 years. There's the Cloud City playset. They've just brought a new one out, which is not as good as the old one. But that was going for about £700. I think it retailed for about 200, something like that. So yeah, Lego, keep it in the box, so don't build it. I know it's tempting to open it and build it. Perhaps you could put it in your loft, like your mum and dad did with your Star Wars toys, and you went up there 15 years later and you were surprised at what you had left, especially if it was still in boxes. Number 4 is vintage playsets. Yes, they may be cardboard. If they're still sealed, they're worth a fortune now, and in 5-10 years' time, they're going to be worth even more, because people are just going to give these to the kids, and the kids are going to play with them. Being cardboard, it's not going to last. Cardboard don't last anyway. It's lasted 40 years, so that's a miracle. I recently seen a Digger playset which is sealed, and he wants £500 for it, which is a lot of money. It's something I've always been after, is a Digger playset, but I think I want a loose one to put my loose figures on. If I was to buy that, I did get him down to £450, but if I was to buy that, I would get it graded, and it would be worth maybe double in 5-10 years' time. See, the thing with having a sealed Digger playset is the foam. It'd be degraded by now, we know this, but it would always be on your mind to open it up. It'd be so tempting to open it up and have a look at the foam. I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably just, as I said, just get it graded so you can't get into it. So yeah, vintage playsets, the Land of the Jawas, the Cantina playsets, the Hoth, Cloud City, which was just cardboard. Most of them are just cardboard, really, especially the Palatoy versions. And as you know, I do want that Palatoy Death Star, loose or in the box. I'm not bothered as long as it's complete. So on to number 3 is any Last 17 figure. Now, Last 17, as we know, are the most expensive figure range that we can get. The first 12 are pretty expensive, but that's down to the weapons. The last 17 are more expensive, even though they were mass-produced and on sale, on offer. We still love them. We still pay a lot of money for them. EV99, Luke, Stormtrooper, that is the expensive one. Trying to find the correct blaster and a helmet that's not repro, that is a complete nightmare, especially on eBay. But the one I'd go for is a pop-up lightsaber R2-D2. I would love one of these on the mint on card, but loose. It'd be really, really nice to have one of those again. I've had two. I actually got one at a toy fair in a pound box. My wife at the time said, "Why are you buying that?" And I just said, "Shut up. It's a nice figure." The sticker was non-existent, but it was a pop-up lightsaber R2-D2. I got it for £1. The second one we took on our honeymoon. I have photos following us all over Cyprus. I still got those. They're pretty special still to me. I don't have that figure anymore, unfortunately, but I would love another loose one to keep. I am on the lookout for one of those. It's just that I need to get it at the correct price. I'm being patient, as you have to be. I don't want to just throw all my money at something. I would like a nice shiny one. I would like a mock one, but they are very expensive. But the price on those just seems to be going up and up. So I think it's a really good investment. Number 2 is any mint on card. As I've said, these are not going to be staying on the card for another 40 years, I doubt. The glue is going to degrade and the bubbles are going to fall off. So they're going to become scarcer and scarcer. It's just a matter of looking after them, putting them in a dark room, which is really a shame. You want to show your collection off. So people out there with mint on card figures, look after them, please. So the best mint on card figures to collect are the licensees, the different licensees from around the world. Yeah, you got your Kenner. It'd be nice to have a full Kenner set, but it'd be nice to have a different licensee. But I might be talking about them soon. Palatoy, definitely Palatoy. They are worth a lot more than the Kenner, especially in this country. Everybody wants Palatoy instead of Kenner. You have Takara, you have Tall Toys, you have licensees from all around the world. But I think one of my favourites is Meccano from France. I did have a Meccano Obi-Wan Kenobi. I would love to have that again. I've just seen one Meccano on eBay, and it is a Jawa, the most common Meccano you can find. I think they wanted £450 for it. So they are going up in price, especially the square card. I would have loved to bought that, but the seller was Toy Tony. So for all the people out there that know about Toy Tony, I will. So that's another thing I will be talking about in the future podcast. Is Toy Tony, infamous. That's the only word I've got for him at the moment. Just ask friend of the podcast, Jason Smith. So on to number 1, and it is Boba Fett. Yes, we're all paying the Fett tax. I did buy the Palatoy Boba Fett a couple of weeks back. I did buy it for an investment for future, but it wasn't as good condition as I'd like, and I was offered a bit more for it than I paid, so I did move it on. So there you go, there's the Fett tax in action there. It's something that I would, as I say, I would have invested in. So it was a mixture of number 1 and number 2, a Palatoy Boba Fett. I'm not talking about the rocket firing Boba Fetts. Those are way out of 9% of people's reach. But again, they are a real investment, I suppose. They are just going to be going up and up, as I say. The one at X is going to fetch 6 figures. But anything Boba Fett is well worth keeping hold of. If it's just a mint on card, not mint on card, loose, 12-inch, slave one. Anything Boba Fett is worth money, and that's never going to change. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that little section. If you disagree with me and you've got any extra ideas that you think might be good for collecting, just let me know. I'll tell you where to contact me at the end of this podcast, plus it'll all be in the show notes. As you know, San Diego Comic-Con is looming. I did mistakenly think it was last week. My bad. And there's a little matter of a Star Wars movie coming out a few months away. And that means one thing, the Star Wars toys are coming. The sort of toys that end up being your first look at the next chapter of the Skywalker saga. If you watched the Star Wars show the other night, you'll have seen the Sith Trooper, the new Stormtrooper variant coming to Episode 9. Because new Star Wars inevitably means new troopers, this is all shiny and red, clearly from the same space designer who kitted out Snoke's throne room and those Praetorian guards. And why Sith Trooper? Didn't Kylo said he was going to kill the past and get rid of the Sith and Jedi? Obviously that's been retconned by JJ. It does hint at the presence of a Sith Lord in The Rise of Skywalker, but who? It is connected to the supposedly re-emergence of the Emperor, as teased in the film's first trailer. Has Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, officially ascended to become a Sith? Not just leader of the First Order, since the end of The Last Jedi. Again, retconned. Don't expect any answers soon, but do expect lots and lots of merchandise. We're already seeing the Hot Toys, the Black Series and Funko Pop, plus Lego sets of the Sith Trooper. This is clearly toy-driven and not story-driven. Do you think George Lucas actually put the Snow Troopers and the Scout Troopers just to sell toys? I don't think so. Am I just being naive? I'd like to think not. Another thing you can get at San Diego Comic-Con, and really like this, is the Metropolis figure. Yes, it's not Star Wars, but it is loosely based on Star Wars, and C-3PO based on the Metropolis robot, so I can get away with it. Super 7's retro-style reaction figures, intended to look like kind of toys of the early 80s, can be somewhat hit or miss. Partly the appeal of the company is that they don't have to secure actors' likenesses. In many cases, they are unattainable, and as such, the sculpts don't actually look great. I know the Back to the Future ones never look great. I bought all those. But for San Diego Comic-Con this year, they have a real winner in the Metropolis and Maria the Robot. Fritz Lang's classic tells the story of class struggle in a gigantic city of the future, and an android created to lead the working class astray. It's a movie that influenced everything from vintage Flash Gordon to modern day Batman, and Maria the Robot is unmistakable touchstone for Star Wars C-3PO. Super 7's figure takes the lineage and runs with it, packaging Maria like an 85 Power of the Force figure, even with a collected coin. And for good measure, she has a vac metalised gold finish with one silver calf, just like Anthony Daniels' Fussy Protocol droid. And this is so cool, I think I'm going to use it for the podcast art. No word yet on how much these are retailing for, but I am definitely going to hunt one down, probably on eBay, unfortunately. So I'm going to be paying a bit more. And finally this week, if you're a member of Amazon Prime, don't forget it's nearly Prime Day, but Amazon is already offering early deals and announcements, some brand new products exclusive Prime members, and a one-day Prime Day launch particularly caught our eye. This is the Star Wars Funko Deluxe figure, featuring Han Solo piloting the iconic Millennium Falcon. Looks pretty cool, and it's measuring 5.5 inches tall, 10.5 inches wide, so it is quite big, and 13.25 inches long. This collectible comes with a window box display and one of the largest Funko figures ever made. With its captain at his helm, the Millennium Falcon is replicated with incredible detail and is hoisted off its base with a few supports to give it the illusion of flying. It's unclear whether Solo can be removed from the Millennium Falcon, but what use is a spaceship without its driver, or pilot? Anyway, we're a bit sad, however, that this co-pilot Chewbacca isn't along for the ride. This item is an Amazon exclusive, and even though it's categorised as Prime Day launch, the Funko Pop actually releases on October 21st, 2019. However, you can pre-order it now. The item is protected by Amazon's pre-order price guarantee, which means you'll automatically receive the lower price if it drops between now and when the item ships. Whether you grab it for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, this Deluxe Funko Pop will be a badass addition to any Star Wars fans collection. I've been keeping my eye out for you on these Amazon Prime Day deals. Star Wars Lego is currently on offer if you want to check out that. It's mainly the smaller kits, but you never know what might pop up. I'll keep my eye out and I will let you know next week. So that'll just about do it for this week. Thank you for listening. If you want to join my Patreon to help keep this podcast going, that is www.patreon.com/Blue Harvest. I'll put all links to all my stuff on the show notes, but I'm putting stuff up on the Patreon, extra stuff, extra videos, articles, pictures, all sorts up there. So jump on, have a look. Some of the content is actually free on there. I also have a YouTube channel which I do reviews. I've just put up a nice little review about the Kellerman Star Wars Vintage Action Figure Guide, which is proving pretty popular. I'm actually thinking about putting a PDF up onto Patreon for that book. It's a very sought after book, very expensive. I'm just trying to find out the legalities of that. But as I say, you can look through it on my video on YouTube. And that's Blue Harvest Vintage. I also have a TeePublic store where you can find t-shirts, stickers, mugs, or anything like that for this podcast. I'm wearing one of the t-shirts right now. And also, if you want to email the show, if you want any comments, anything you want me to talk about, or any questions at all. If you're a new collector, you might have lots of questions and you don't want to bother anybody else. I'm free. Ask me anything. blueharvesttoys@gmail.com. Again, all that information is in the show notes. And I will see you all next week. May the toys be with you.